Rogan came out, he was talking about why he thought Conor McGregor lost to Dustin Poirier. And first off, Joe was stating the inactivity, which is exactly the conclusion that Conor himself came to within 2 minutes of leaving the octagon that night. And he's right. And it's not just the inactivity between that fight with Dustin and Conor's prior fight against Cowboy. It's not. It goes all the way back to Khabib because the Cowboy fight was only 40 seconds. And you get a lot out of those 40 seconds, by the way. You have a full training camp. You have travel. What's it going to be like to sleep on the road? What's it going to be like to get to the arena, do all of the stuff, decompress through the commission? But you don't get the ring time. I mean, I worry about that with other guys. I'm starting to think that that could be a real thing with Francis Ngannou. And I think that's going over everybody's head. But Francis is in a very similar spot to Conor McGregor in terms of minutes in the octagon. Because we don't have minutes with Francis. We have seconds. Are you guys realizing that? Are you realizing how fast Francis is stomping people out? Now, Francis is in a good spot. He's still training. He's still making weight. He's still going out there. He's still got the eye of the tiger. He's still dealing with the nerves. There's a lot of positives that don't equal your complete basket of ring rust. I just bring for you that Conor is not using an excuse. Neither is Joe for Conor, and neither am I for Conor. That's a real thing that we were all wondering. How long can you take off before you drop off? That's the big question. Joe was also talking about Conor and how big he was, and that pulling down to 55 was a very difficult thing. I spoke to another gentleman at the UFC who was there in Fight Island, who told me that whole fight week felt a little different observing Conor. So what do you mean? He goes, well, he came into the hotel, he had his whole family with him. Every day, he never separated from the family. He was playing with the kids, and he was being seen. It was just one of these things where it didn't look like the same tension that you could cut with a knife, feeling the energy of a typical Conor fight. In addition to, the whole town not being the Irish and the flag, it just felt different. And when the whole thing was done, Conor put out a tweet that said, "No more Mr. Nice Guy." And the UFC official telling me this story thought that's what he was referring to. This whole, hey, Mr. Nice Guy, being there for everybody, giving time to everybody, doing every media interview requested, doing every photo with everybody, playing the hide and seek and the tag. It was just one of these things that person who shared this information with me thought that that's what Conor was referring to within that tweet. Joe's right. And Joe doesn't get some kind of an award. He's Captain Obvious on this one. He stated the obvious, but he's right. And there's so many things that are obvious that are right in front of our face, but we don't see them, or the athlete doesn't see them. I feel as though Conor is very aware. Joe also talked about the damage done by the calf kick, and that calf kick is created because Conor has the wide karate stance. He puts weight on that. Dustin studied it. I got the whole thing. But these are also mistakes that I believe are very unlikely to happen in the rematch. And Conor looked terrible against Poirier by Conor's standards. Conor looked like a top fighter in the world to me. He looked terrible by Conor's standards. That's different. That's different. Having a bad night is different than now all of a sudden you're a bad fighter. And I got my first glimpse of it when Conor got taken down. I mean, there might as well have been a banana peel in the ring. That was not a takedown attempt. That was never meant to take Conor down. That was meant to close the distance. Nobody was more surprised Conor fell down than Dustin Poirier, let alone that Conor stayed there. Nobody was more surprised than Poirier. That was not Poirier's intent. I bring that to you because that's the other side of the coin people are forgetting. You can break down all of the problems that Conor had, and you can even come to a reasonable belief that we're not going to see those problems happen again. But if you then deduce that Conor's going to flip the script